Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
Jürgen Moser's 1983 volume, Stable and Random Motions in Dynamical Systems, represents a landmark synthesis in the study of Hamiltonian mechanics, presented as number 77 in the prestigious Annals of Mathematics Studies. It arrived at a moment when the discoveries surrounding the stability of planetary orbits and the emergence of chaotic behavior were coalescing into a coherent mathematical discipline. This essay undertakes a rigorous evaluation of the internal claims, arguments, and conceptual frameworks presented within Moser's text, proceeding systematically through its major thematic sections. The analysis will assess the coherence of his exposition, the power of his chosen methodologies, and the lasting validity of the conclusions he draws from a purely analytical foundation. The work itself functions as a profound pedagogical instrument, guiding the reader from the foundational principles of integrable systems to the frontiers of research on deterministic chaos, all through the lens of Moser's own formidable contributions. Section 1: The foundational problem of perturbation theory. Moser initiates his exposition by framing the central problem of dynamical systems with exceptional clarity. He establishes the idealized world of integrable Hamiltonian systems, systems possessing a full complement of conserved quantities or integrals of motion. His claim here is that the dynamics of such systems are fundamentally simple, with phase space being foliated by invariant tori on which motion is quasi-periodic. The argument is presented through the language of action angle variables, a canonical transformation that renders the Hamiltonian a function of the action variables alone, making the equations of motion trivial to solve. Moser's evaluation of this classical framework is that its primary utility lies in its role as a starting point. The crucial scientific question, he posits, is the fate of this orderly structure when the system is subjected to a small perturbation, a change that typically destroys most of the integrals of motion. His internal argument is that the history of celestial mechanics, from Newton to Poincaré, is essentially a history of grappling with this very question. He assesses the classical perturbation series of astronomers and finds them wanting, pointing to the appearance of small divisors, terms in the series with denominators that can become arbitrarily close to zero, causing the series to diverge and rendering the mathematical predictions meaningless. The claim is direct. A new form of analysis is required to overcome this fundamental obstacle. Moser's presentation of this historical and mathematical context is itself an argument for the necessity of the techniques he is about to introduce. He effectively convinces the reader that the problem is deep, historically significant, and analytically intractable using classical methods, thereby setting the stage for the powerful results of the Kolmogorov-Arnold-Moser theorem. Section 2: The persistence of invariant tori and the Kolmogorov-Arnold-Moser theorem. This portion of the work forms the intellectual core of the entire volume, where Moser presents his version of the Kolmogorov-Arnold-Moser theory. His central claim is monumental. For a sufficiently small and smooth perturbation of an integrable Hamiltonian system, a majority of the non-resonant, invariant tori survive. These surviving tori are deformed, yet they retain their topological character and continue to support quasi-periodic motion. The argument's power resides in its rigorous, constructive proof. Moser meticulously details the mechanism that allows for this persistence. He confronts the small divisor problem head-on, explaining that the survival of a torus depends on a delicate arithmetic property of its frequency vector. Specifically, the frequencies must satisfy a Diophantine condition, meaning their components are poorly approximable by rational numbers. The mathematical expression for this condition is that the absolute value of the inner product of any integer vector k with the frequency vector omega must be greater than or equal to a constant gamma divided by the magnitude of k raised to some power tau. Moser's evaluation of this condition is that it excludes a set of tori Yet he demonstrates that the measure of this excluded set vanishes as the perturbation strength approaches zero. The methodological centerpiece of his argument is a superconvergent iteration scheme, a sophisticated refinement of Newton's method adapted for functional equations. He makes the claim that this quadratic convergence is essential to overcome the destructive effect of the small divisors. Each step of the iteration refines the approximation of the surviving torus, while simultaneously managing the coordinate transformations needed to keep the perturbation terms small. The evidence for this claim is the detailed, step-by-step proof itself, a tour de force of hard analysis. Moser's specific genius in this presentation is the relative clarity he brings to an exceptionally difficult topic, making a strong case for the superiority of this analytic, iterative approach over the formal power series of classical celestial mechanics. Section 3: Area preserving maps as a model system to render the abstract theory more tangible. Moser dedicates significant analysis to a simplified model area preserving twist maps of the annulus. His primary claim in this section is that these two-dimensional discrete-time systems capture the essential dynamical phenomena of higher-dimensional continuous time, Hamiltonian systems. He argues that a cross-section of a 3-degree of freedom Hamiltonian flow, known as a Poincare section, can often be reduced to such a map, preserving the crucial features of stability and instability. Within this framework, Moser evaluates the implications of the Kolmogorov-Arnold-Moser theorem. The invariant tori of the continuous system correspond to invariant closed curves on the annulus for the map. The theorem's claim translates to the persistence of many of these curves under perturbation. Moser's exposition of the twist condition, which requires that the angle of rotation varies with the radius, is presented as the essential ingredient that drives the complex dynamics. He then analyzes what happens in the gaps where the invariant curves are destroyed. His argument lucidly connects the breakup of resonant tori to the Poincare-Birkhoff theorem, which guarantees the existence of an even number of periodic points within these gaps. He presents these new periodic points as alternatingly elliptic and hyperbolic, giving rise to their own local stable and unstable manifolds. This claim, that the destruction of one stable structure immediately seeds the creation of new, more complex structures, is fundamental to understanding the transition to chaos. The methodology here is a beautiful interplay of geometric intuition and rigorous proof, using the simplified map to illustrate a profound principle. Stability and instability are intricately interwoven, with the remnants of broken tori providing the architecture for new layers of dynamical complexity. Section 4: The construction of random motions with the persistence of stable structures established. Moser turns to the other part of his title, the characterization of random motions. His principal assertion here is that the regions of phase space where the invariant tori have been destroyed are home to orbits of extraordinary complexity, which can be described as genuinely random for all practical purposes. The framework he employs to substantiate this claim is the theory of symbolic dynamics, powerfully illustrated through the mechanism of the Smale horseshoe. Moser's argument is that the intricate weaving of the stable and unstable manifolds of hyperbolic periodic points, a structure known as a homoclinic tangle, necessitates the existence of an invariant Cantor set on which the dynamics are topologically conjugate to a Cointus-like shift map. His evaluation of this mathematical construction is that it provides a definitive and rigorous meaning to the concept of deterministic chaos. The motion is random, in the sense that an orbit within this set can be made to follow any pre-assigned sequence of symbols, exhibiting sensitive dependence on initial conditions and containing a dense set of periodic orbits. He meticulously details the geometric stretching and folding process that creates the horseshoe, demonstrating how an initial square of points is mapped into a shape that intersects its own pre-image in a series of thin vertical strips. The claim is that any point which remains in the square for all forward and backward iterations must belong to this Cantor set. The evidence is again a constructive proof, showing the one-to-one correspondence between the infinite sequences of symbols and the points in the invariant set. Moser argues that this mechanism, born from the breakup of the most robustly irrational generic feature of non-integrable systems, providing a universal pathway for the emergence of complex, unpredictable behavior from simple, deterministic, Section 5 stability of equilibrium and applications. In the later sections of his work, Moser connects the abstract mathematical machinery to more concrete physical questions, particularly the stability of equilibrium points and periodic orbits. His claim is that the stability of an elliptic fixed point, a point where the linearized motion consists of oscillations, is a far more delicate question than linear analysis suggests. He evaluates the situation using the developed theory, arguing that for systems with 2 degrees of freedom, the invariant Tory guaranteed by the Kolmogorov-Arnold-Moser theorem near the equilibrium point effectively trap orbits, ensuring perpetual stability. This is a powerful claim, asserting that the nonlinear dynamics provide a stronger form of stability than the linear approximation would indicate. However, he then presents the counter-argument, rooted in the work of Vladimir Ald, for systems with 3 or more degrees of free. Here, the claim is that the surviving Tory, being of a dimension less than n-1, fail to topologically separate the phase space. This allows for the existence of a slow drift, termed Arnold diffusion, along the resonant channels, permitting orbits to wander arbitrarily far from the equilibrium point over very long timescales. The evaluation here is a masterclass in nuance, showing how the same theorem can have dramatically different physical implications based on the dimension of the space. He further claims that these theoretical considerations have direct bearing on problems in celestial mechanics, such as the long-term stability of the solar system, and in the design of particle accelerators, where beam confinement over billions of revolutions is paramount. His assessment is that while the timescales for Arnold diffusion may be astronomically long, its existence represents a fundamental limit on the predictability and stability of mana-body systems. Section 6 generalizations to infinite-dimensional systems. Towards the end of the volume, Moser gestures toward the extension of these powerful ideas to infinity-dimensional Hamiltonian systems, such as those described by partial differential equations like the Korteweg-Riesz equation. The claim here is more prospective, asserting that the conceptual framework of the Kolmogorov-Arnold-Moser theorem can be adapted to prove the existence of quasi-periodic solutions in these more complex settings. He evaluates the significant technical challenges, primarily the fact that an infinite number of modes can be excited and the small divisor problem becomes even more severe. The methodology he hints at involves extending the powerful implicit function theorems and iteration schemes to infinity-dimensional function spaces, a research program that was highly active at the time and to which Moser himself was a key contributor. He presents the existence of quasi-periodic solutions for certain non-linear wave equations as evidence for the viability of this extension. His argument is that the dichotomy between stable, regular behavior and turbulent, chaotic dynamics observed in fluids and plasmas might be understood through a similar lens. The persistence and breakdown of infinity-dimensional invariant tori. This section serves to claim the universality of the book's core principles, suggesting that the architecture of stability and randomness found in simple mechanical systems provides a robust paradigm for understanding a vast range of phenomena governed by more complex physical laws. This forward-looking evaluation solidifies the work's status as a foundational text, providing the tools and concepts for future generations of In conclusion, Jürgen Moser's Stable and Random Motions in Dynamical Systems stands as a monumental work of synthesis and clarification. The detailed evaluation of its internal claims reveals a text of immense logical coherence and pedagogical power. Moser's central achievement lies in his construction of a unified analytical narrative that encompasses both the astonishing persistence of regular motion in the form of invariant tori and the structured emergence of randomness from their destruction. His arguments, grounded in the rigorous application of advanced analytical techniques, successfully validate the claim but the Kolmogorov-Arnold-Moser theorem provides the definitive framework for understanding nearly integrable Hamiltonian systems. The use of area-preserving maps as a didactic tool proves remarkably effective, translating abstract concepts into geometric intuition. Furthermore, his exposition of symbolic dynamics and the Smale horseshoe provides a completely deterministic and classifiable foundation for what appears as random motion. The work's intellectual integrity stems from its direct confrontation with the most difficult aspects of the theory, particularly the small divisor problem, and its presentation of a complete, if arduous, solution by systematically building from classical foundations to the frontiers of the current research, and by connecting the abstract theory to concrete physical implications. Moser crafted a volume that accomplishes more than a simple summary of results. It provides a complete intellectual worldview, one in which the intricate dance between order and chaos is governed by the subtle arithmetic of frequencies and the robust geometry of phase space. The enduring significance of the work is a direct consequence of the strength and clarity of these internal claims, which have shaped the education and research of mathematicians and physicists for decades.
We really appreciate you tuning in to this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.